You're watching Story Scroll. Real stories, raw emotions, and endings you'll never forget. Let's scroll into today's tale.
Posted on R true off my chest. I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this. For 10 years, I believed I had the perfect little family. A loving wife, a daughter who called me dad, and a home filled with laughter and memories. Now I'm sitting in a cheap motel, staring at a duffel bag that holds everything I took when I walked away from the life I built. My wife, Laura, and I have been married for a decade. When we met, she already had a daughter, Mia, from a previous relationship. Mia was only 3 then, this tiny, bright-eyed girl who clung to her stuffed rabbit and hid behind her mother's leg when I first met her. I didn't think I was ready to be a dad, but something about her, about them, made me want to try. And so I did. I tried my hardest. I was there for every scraped knee, every science project, every bedtime story. I taught her how to ride a bike, how to swim, and how to drive. I went to every school recital, every father-daughter dance. The first time she called me Dad, I cried in the garage because I didn't want her to see. Her biological father was never really around. He'd send birthday cards sometimes, maybe some money, but that was it. He never showed up for birthdays, never called on Christmas. For years, I was the only man Mia knew as a father. I thought Laura felt grateful that I had stepped into that role so willingly. But now I realize I was living in a bubble built on a lie I didn't even know existed. Lately, things had been different. Laura had grown distant. She used to laugh easily, touch my arm when she walked by me, kiss me goodnight. But for months now, she'd been cold, short-tempered, dismissive. At first, I thought it was stress, maybe something at work. But then I noticed how protective she'd become whenever Mia's biological father's name came up. Apparently, he wanted to reconnect with Mia. She defended him, saying he's changed and that it might be good for Mia to know her real dad. I didn't argue, not at first. I didn't want to stand in the way if it could somehow be good for her. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt, that after all these years, she'd even consider letting the man who abandoned them back in so easily. Then, one night, everything just broke. Mia had stayed out later than she was supposed to. I wasn't angry, just worried. When she got home, I grounded her. Nothing major, just taking her phone for the night. She stomped upstairs, angry, and Laura followed. A few minutes later, she came back down, eyes blazing. "What gives you the right to punish her?" she snapped. I told her calmly that we had always agreed to be a united front when it came to parenting. But she wouldn't let it go. The argument escalated, voices raised, and then she said it. The sentence that will echo in my head forever. "You'll never be her real dad. Stop pretending." It was like the world just stopped spinning for a moment. I stared at her, waiting for her to take it back, but she didn't. For 10 years, I'd poured my heart into that little girl. Every late-night fever, every birthday, every "I love you, Dad." And in one sentence, Laura managed to erase it all. Not because it wasn't real, but because she wanted to hurt me. I didn't say a word after that. I just turned around and went to bed. The next morning, I woke up early. I sat in the living room, staring at the family photos on the wall. Our wedding, Mia's first day of school, her graduation from middle school. I thought about all the times I'd stayed up late working overtime to give them the life they had. Then I heard it. Laughter. Laura and Mia were in the kitchen, laughing like nothing had happened. Like the night before hadn't shattered me completely. I don't even think Mia understood what had been said. Maybe she thought it was just another argument. But I couldn't unhear those words. That was the moment I knew I was done. I quietly packed my things, just clothes, a few personal items, and the photo of Mia and me at the father-daughter dance when she was 8. I placed my wedding ring on the kitchen counter and grabbed a piece of paper. On it, I wrote, "You're right. I'm not her real father, and you're not my real family." I left the keys next to it and walked out without looking back. I didn't tell anyone, not my friends, not my family. I just drove. I didn't even know where I was going. I just needed to be somewhere that didn't remind me of the life I lost. Eventually, I ended up here, in this motel room, with the note replaying in my head over and over. Part of me wonders if I overreacted. Maybe I should have stayed for Mia's sake. Maybe I should have confronted Laura again, demanded an apology. But another part of me knows that once someone tells you that you don't belong, that you were never truly family, you can't unhear it. How do you go back to pretending after that? I don't know what happens next. I don't know if I'll ever see Mia again, or if she'll grow up thinking I abandoned her. That's what hurts the most, that she might never understand that I left because I couldn't live in a home where love was conditional. I gave them everything I had, 10 years of my life, 10 years of love, sacrifice, and it was all erased in one sentence.
Update 1. Posted on R3 True Off My Chest, 3 months later. It's been 3 months since I walked out of that house. 3 months since I left behind a decade of my life, my marriage, and the only child I ever called my own. I moved to another city, about 2 hours away. It's not far, but it feels like another world. My apartment's small, 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, barely enough space to move around. The walls are blank, the fridge is half empty, and I've only just started sleeping through the night again. The first few weeks were rough. I'd wake up reaching for the side of the bed that wasn't warm anymore. I'd catch myself checking the clock around 3 p.m., the time I used to pick Mia up from school, before remembering she wasn't waiting for me anymore. I'd walk by the park and see dads pushing their kids on swings, and it felt like someone twisting a knife in my chest. I wanted to reach out so badly, just to know if she was okay, but I didn't. I couldn't. I didn't want to interfere or confuse her, not after the way Laura had twisted everything. I told myself I was doing the right thing by staying silent, even if it felt like tearing out pieces of my heart one by one. I tried to rebuild. I got a new job, similar field, lower stress. I started going to the gym again, cooking for myself, learning how to exist without the noise of a family around me. It's strange how quiet life can be when the people you loved most aren't in it anymore. Then, about a month ago, a mutual friend, Chris, reached out. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. He'd known Laura and me for years, one of those people who somehow keeps in touch with everyone. He asked how I'd been holding up. I told him the truth, that I was surviving, nothing more. Then he sighed and said, "Man, you won't believe what's been going on." Apparently, things had completely fallen apart after I left. Laura had to sell a lot of things to get by, furniture, her car. When I left, I hadn't realized just how dependent she'd been on me financially. The house was in my name. I'd paid the mortgage, the bills, everything. She didn't have the savings to keep it up, and when the next payment came due, she panicked. I didn't do it out of spite, but I had to settle my end legally, so I sold the house. It was a clean break. Chris said Laura and Mia moved into a small rental on the other side of town. The real dad, the one who had suddenly reappeared in their lives, didn't stick around for long. Apparently, he met Mia twice, promised he'd take her to a concert, and then vanished again. No calls, no messages, just gone. When Chris told me that, I didn't know how to feel. On one hand, I felt vindicated. The man she defended turned out to be exactly who I always knew he was, unreliable. On the other, I felt hollow, because while Laura was dealing with the mess she made, Mia was the one paying for it. Chris said Mia was angry, really angry. She'd been fighting with her mom constantly, blaming her for me leaving. He told me she had said something like, "You made him leave. He was my dad, and you pushed him away." I broke down after that call. I sat in my car for half an hour, just staring at the steering wheel, trying to breathe through the ache in my chest. I'd told myself that leaving was for the best, but hearing that Mia was hurting, that she missed me, made me question everything all over again. Then, a week later, I got a letter. It was in my mailbox, no return address. Inside was a single folded sheet of paper, written in the kind of messy handwriting that only a teenage girl could have. My heart stopped when I saw the name at the bottom. It was from Mia. I don't know how she found my address. Maybe Chris gave it to her, maybe she searched. Either way, I'm glad she did. She wrote, "Hi, Dad. I don't know if I'm allowed to call you that anymore, but I want to. Mom said you left because you were mad, but I don't think that's true. I think she said something bad because she's been sad ever since. I'm sorry for whatever she said. I heard part of it that night. I didn't mean to, but I did. I didn't know what to say. I wanted to tell you not to listen to her, that she didn't mean it, but I froze. I just want you to know that you are my dad. You're the one who was there for me when I was scared, when I was sick, when I needed help with homework. You're the one who came to my plays and my games and made me pancakes on Sundays. You may not be my real dad, but you're the only dad who ever cared. I miss you. I hope you're okay. Love, Mia." I must have read that letter 100 times. I cried so hard I could barely breathe. For weeks, I'd convinced myself I didn't have a family anymore, that I was completely alone. But those words, they reminded me that love doesn't disappear just because someone tries to rewrite it. That night, I wrote her back. I told her how proud I was of her, how much I missed her too. I told her she didn't have to choose sides, that she could love her mom and still care about me. I said I'd always be there for her, whenever she needed me, no matter what anyone said. I didn't mention Laura. I didn't ask about her, didn't say anything cruel. I just focused on Mia, because she was never the reason I left. Since then, we've exchanged a few more letters, sometimes short, sometimes longer. She tells me about school, her friends, the new cat they adopted. I tell her about my new job, how I've started hiking again, and that I've been learning to cook properly instead of living off takeout. It's not the same, but it's something. Every time I see her handwriting on an envelope, I feel a little more alive. Like maybe the world isn't completely empty after all. I don't know what'll happen next. I don't know if Laura will ever reach out, or if she even should. I'm not sure I could forgive her, even if she did. But one thing I do know is that Mia still sees me as her father, and that means everything. Maybe I lost a wife, but I won't lose the one person who still believes in me.
Final update. Posted on our True Off My Chest, 1 year later. It's been a year since I left that house. A year since the words, "You'll never be her real dad," turned my life upside down. I didn't think I'd ever say this, but I'm okay now.
Not perfect, not unscarred, just okay. And that's something I never thought I'd feel again. After everything that happened, I rebuilt myself piece by piece. I found a new rhythm, a new version of normal. I moved to a quiet neighborhood with tree-lined streets and a little coffee shop I visit every morning before work. I got promoted at my job, the same one I started when I moved here, and for the first time in years, I actually look forward to my days instead of just surviving them. I've also started dating someone. Her name's Emily. We met at a local bookstore of all places. It's nothing serious yet, but it's gentle, patient in a way I didn't know relationships could be. She knows about my past. I told her everything early on because I didn't want to build anything on silence again. She didn't try to fix me. She just listened. And then there's Mia. We've stayed in touch, not constantly, but enough. She texts me a few times a week, usually about school or some new recipe she's trying. Sometimes we call, sometimes we meet for lunch when she's visiting my city. Every time I see her, I'm reminded that walking away that day wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something new between us. She's grown so much. She's taller now, more confident. She joined her school's debate team and wants to study psychology after graduation. When we meet up, she still hugs me the same way she did when she was little, arms tight around my waist, head pressed against my chest. And every time, I feel that same ache of love and pride. She still calls me Dad. The first time she said it after everything that happened, I had to excuse myself to the bathroom so she wouldn't see me tear up. She said it so casually, "Dad, pass the ketchup." And I realized that despite everything her mom tried to erase, that word still belonged to us. A few months ago, she told me that when teachers or friends ask about her parents, she always says, "My dad's name is OP's name." Not stepdad, not mom's ex, just Dad. That one sentence healed something in me that I thought would stay broken forever. As for Laura, she reached out a few weeks ago. It came out of nowhere. I got an email from her late one night. The subject line just said, "Can we talk?" I hesitated for a long time before opening it. Part of me didn't want to give her the satisfaction, but curiosity got the better of me. The message was long, full of apologies and explanations. She said she'd been stressed that night, that she didn't mean it, and that she regretted what she said every single day since. She said losing me made her realize how much she'd taken for granted, that she didn't just lose a husband, but the one person who ever truly cared for both her and Mia. I read it twice, then sat there staring at the screen. There was a time when I would have given anything to hear those words, but when they finally came, they didn't bring comfort, just closure. I agreed to meet her, not because I wanted to reconcile, but because I wanted to look her in the eye one last time and end that chapter properly. We met at a small cafe. She looked older, not physically, but in her eyes. Guilt has a way of aging people. She tried to smile, said she'd been keeping up with Mia's letters to me. Then she started crying, apologizing again, over and over. I was stupid, she said. I was scared. I thought letting her real dad in would make me a better mother. I didn't realize I was breaking the only real family we had. I didn't say much. I let her talk. When she finally stopped, I told her the only thing I could. Words have weight, Laura. You can't unsay what breaks a family. She nodded, wiping her eyes. I think she understood. There was no anger left in me, no bitterness. Just the quiet truth that sometimes people realize the value of what they had too late. We parted ways after that. No promises, no maybe someday. Just an unspoken acknowledgement that the story between us had ended. These days, I find peace in small things. Cooking breakfast without rushing, watching the sunset from my balcony, getting a text from Mia that says, "Love you, Dad." Sometimes I still think about that night. The argument, the silence, the note I left on the counter. For a long time, I wondered if I'd done the right thing. But now, I know I did. Leaving wasn't an act of anger. It was an act of self-preservation. I couldn't keep pouring love into people who didn't see its worth. And as painful as it was, walking away gave me and Mia a chance to build something real, even if it looks different than what I once imagined. A few weeks ago, she gave me a handmade card for Father's Day. Inside, she'd drawn a little cartoon of us, me holding her on my shoulders, both of us laughing. Underneath it, she wrote, "You may not be my real dad, but you're my forever dad." I think that's the moment I finally forgave everything. If you told me a year ago that I'd be here, happy, healing, loved, I wouldn't have believed you. I thought I'd lost everything that day. But the truth is, I was just shedding the pieces of a life that were never truly mine. Mia once asked me if I ever missed being part of the family. I told her, "Sweetheart, I still am, just a smaller, better one." Because family isn't about who shares your blood. It's about who shows up, who stays, who loves without keeping score. Laura told me I wasn't Mia's real dad, but real fathers aren't defined by DNA. They're defined by love that doesn't quit, even when everything else does. And if that's not real, I don't know what is.
Thanks for watching Story Scroll. Hit that bell and stay tuned for the next story that will move your heart.